slide nila ba? Sama ni. Ikaw
Ako
ra
rin
mo
bahala na.
next.
Ako.
Ay, pre. Pag
Oh.
ako man na ng title, kung mo ingon si Amoris og before, diretso na din ta sa objective.
Sa
Objectives.
pasabot mo.
Di ba? Basahon ba mong mo niyo? Good day. Nya, analysis. Mao man ni. Ito ang first introduction. Nya, pag-abot sa objective, pag slide na, pag before nimo, before
Pag,
you dive, dira na siya mag-objective na slide.
oh, sige, sige. Ako rin bahala. Minor, basahan lang ang script po din kapil.
Sa 1G.
Sige. First, we are going. So, lesson 1 ko na.
Daw.
Ano? Lesson 1.
Okay daw, next daw.
Ano difference.
Mao na siya objective.
Ano,
Kung
bilang
moingon na
basa?
ka before.
Ayun na
Kani,
basa ang kuan.
before
Okay,
we dive
before.
into.
Oo. Ayun na basa ang kaning nakabutang dire. Balik, kuan na siya.
Pwede
Guide
po,
lang.
ikaw na lang mag-ingon na next slide para dili
Oh.
makon si ano.
Sige lang. Ako next ko ni ron.
Or, ikaw na lang ano. First, Nel.
Ikaw na.
Samar.
Gamay ra na.
Ha?
Siya
Ikaw
si
na lang intro.
Sige, ako na lang ikon intro.
Oh, kambit ta.
On. Sige mo. Ikaw
Sige,
na?
sige.
Sige, 1, 2, 3. Good day and welcome to our presentation. Our topic for today is vulnerability analysis and threat modeling. Before we dive into the technical details, let's look at our three main objectives for this topic. First, we are going to learn how to differentiate between finding active bugs and predicting design flaws. Second, we will look at how industry uses frameworks like CVSS, Strides, and PASTA. And finally, we will show you how to actually engineer proactive defenses in real-world system. So, one siya itong objective. When people think of cybersecurity, they often picture a reactive state security analyst watching monitors, waiting for a red alert to flash. Today, we are going to flip that perspective. We are focusing on proactive engineering. So let's begin to our diagram. Let's begin with vulnerability management. I mean, the last slide. So let's begin. So this is the vulnerability management. A vulnerability is a flaw, a weakness in a system design, implementation, or operations that can be exploited by an adversary. However, simply identifying a bug is not enough. True corporate defense requires an ongoing life cycle. 1. Discovery and assessment. We are actively prove our external and internal perimeter using automated tooling to discover active nodes, open ports, and vulnerable software version. 2. Prioritization. You cannot fix 10,000 bugs overnight. Organization must contextualize the severity of flaw against the criticality of asset. Remediation. This is execution phase, whether it involves deploying software patches, modifying configuration files, or replacing legacy infrastructure. 4. Validation. We scan and execute targeted verification to guarantee the patch was successful and did not introduce regressions bugs. Monitoring. Maintain continuously visibility via telemetry to notice changes in the asset security posture. And 6, improvements. Documentation root cause analysis so development teams do not repeat the same coding mistakes in the future version. I will now hand the stage over to Amores to break down exactly how we calculate and score this vulnerability mathematically.
All right. So, The next is vul- vulnerability quantification and CVSS mechanics. So, thank you, Layupan. Uh, when a vulnerability scanner flags a weakness, it cannot just be treated based on gut feeling. We must standardize risk quantification across the entire industry. To do this, we use the Common Vulnerability Scoring System or CVSS. So, as illustrated on the slide, a CVSS score is not just an arbitrary number from 0 to 10. It is a mathematical calculation built from three distinct metric groups. So, for example, the base metric group, this represents the intrinsic or characteristic of vulnerability that remain constant over the time and across user environments. It is split into exploitability metrics, attack vector, attack complexity, um, privilege required, and user interaction. Second, impact metrics, the direct effect on confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The temporal metric group. This measures the current state of the exploitability over time. For example, if a vulnerability is discovered but no public exploit code exists, the temporal score is lower. If a weaponized hacking script is published on GitHub, the temporal score shoots up. And the environmental metric group. This allows a company to customize the score based on their own network layout. If a critical vulnerability exists on an offline server locked in a basement, the environmental score lowers the overall risk. If it's on our primary customer facing database, it maximizes it. Understanding this math allows us to distinguish between a critical patch that needs immediate midnight deployment and a low severity issue that can wait for the next routine maintenance cycle. Now, Wariza will take us from technical scanning into system design risk.
Oh, so thank you, Amores. Everything we have discussed so far deals with finding bugs in software that already exists. But what if we could catch security catastrophic failures before a single line of code is written? That is the power of threat modeling. For example, threat modeling is a structural design process. We analyze data flow diagrams, system architecture, maps, and trust boundaries. The gold standard for categorizing architectural threats is Microsoft's STRIDE methodology. So the first one is S, the spoofing. Let's dissect this matrix deeply, focusing on the security property each threat directly violates. Spoofing violates authentication. This happens when an entity pretends to be something or someone else. If your system accepts unverified headers, like an attack can spoof a legitimate server. Tampering violates integrity. This is the unauthorized modification of data on disk, in memory, or in transit over the network. Repudiation violates non-repudiation. If a malicious actor can perform a sensitive action like erasing an database audit log and say, prove it was me, and your system logs cannot conclusively trace it to their key. Your architecture has failed. The next one is information disclosure violates confidentiality. This occurs when private regulated data is leaked or exposed to an unauthorized system or individual. The next one is the denial of service violates availability. This involves exhausting memory like CPU, processing power, or network bandwidth to crash service availability for valid users. Elevation of privilege violates authorization. This allows an attacker with low level privileges to compromise administrative security barriers and gain full control. To understand how other frameworks handle this outside of developer centered stride, I will pass the slide to Largo.
Go, ikaw na.
Wala lang si Largo.
Raise the Sistrick anniversary Sistrick frameworks. Thank you, Arisa. Wellstrides is perfect for engineering teams building a specific app enterprise organization often needs frameworks that speak the language of business risk or attract external active adversaries that bring us to PASTA and Metri attack. First, let's examine the PASTA frameworks. As you can see, PASTA stands for Process for Attack Simulation and Threat Analysis. PASTA is a risk-focused framework built our 7 progress steps and starts not with the app by defending business objectives. Stage 1 is forces engineers to ask what is financial or compliance goals. Must these systems satisfy its worth way down through application disposition threat analysis? And finally ends with risk and impact analysis. This ensures the business executive and tech leads are completely aligned on threat metrics. But what if you want to know what real nation state adversaries are doing right now? That's where implement an adversary centric modeling via the Mitre attack and metrics. The Mitre attacks metric is a globally assembly living knowledge base of an adversary tactics and techniques based on the real world observations. Instead of guessing what an attacker might to do, we map our defenses against documented behaviors across the full attack lifecycle, from initial access through execution, lateral movement, and final exploration. Will join me as entire team comes together with both frameworks and practice to mention case study.
Okay. Let's proceed to part 5. Thank you, Mr. Largo. And the part 5 is complete enterprise case study implementation. Let's integrate all these components into a full simulation. Imagine our firm has been also analyze next generation enterprise application. FinCloud, Lexus, a multi-tenant corporation banking API backend that connects mobile clients, cloud databases, and third-party payment settlement processors. Our assessment strategy must leverage both disciplines, vulnerability analysis, the threat modeling. Let's run through our team assessment playbook.
So I'll kick off our
Next.
discover I'll kick off our discovery phase. During our physical and automated vulnerability assessment, our external web application scanners discovered that the primary API gateway layer is a running an unpatched microservice library. This library is vulnerable to an authentication bypass exploit.
So, analyzing that specific flow under CVSS, we determine its base score is a 9.8 critical. Why? You know why? Because the attack vector is network-wide. Attack complexity is low. No privilege are required. And the impact on confidentiality and integrity is total. This immediately alerts the dev team to pause feature production and remediate this library baseline.
Okay, so now we switch to threat modeling, the internal network design. Look at the trust boundary wall between our API gateway and the core FinCloud database. If an attacker breaches the gateway, they can exploit a stride information disclosure threat because the internal microservices pass user database queries across the inner network architecture in encrypted plain text. Our architectural mitigation must mandate mutual TLS for all internal container microservices.
Furthermore, evaluating the architectural gaps against our PASTA frameworks and metric attack metric, we see the advanced threat groups frequently use a lateral movement techniques T1021. Once an initial getaway compromise if our internal system falls to log cross service authentication means an attacker can access other corporate accounts independently, being to us absolutely failures in not reputation stride.
By combining these strategies, our team doesn't just patch individual code flows as they appear. We redesign the underlying architecture to be resilient against entire classes of cyber. Next.
In conclusions, proactive defense is a multi-layered science. Vulnerability management give us the tactical agility to monitor our runtime environment, track dependency, and calculate quantitative risk profiles using CVSS. On the other hand, threat modeling provides the strategic blueprint needed to design secure applications from day zero using proven methodologies like STRIDE, PASTA, and Maitri attack. When this discipline operates in unison, organization achieve a state of conclusions, compliance, and structural resilience. And now let's go with the lesson 2.
Part 1. Discussing attack surface and trust boundaries. Moving directly forward into the lesson, we are shifting our focus from abstract security frameworks to structural realities with explore attack surface and trust boundary, followed by case-based vulnerability analysis. We explore attack surface and trust boundaries followed by case vulnerability analysis. Objectives. Map map complex attack surface, classify security vectors, actors, the digital software, and physical layers to deliverability, series a system exposure. Insulate trust boundary. Use the data flow diagrams to pinpoint where data transitions. Execute case-based analysis. Reverse engineer historical record cyber. Breaches to immunize your own infrastructure against similar attack patterns from untrusted zones to trusted environments. For this section, our core objectives are learn to how to map a complex attack surface across the digital and physical layers, identify exactly where data crosses trust boundaries using data flow diagrams, and finally look and how can reverse engineer real history hacks to immunize our own systems. When electrical hackers or an adversary looks an organization, they don't just design an application, they see interconnected ecosystem. The first step in securing this ecosystem and mapping an attack surface. The attack surface refers to the sum total of all points or attack vectors we an unauthorized user can attempt to inject data, extract, or alter the system's state. Changes attack starting point. The digital network attack surface includes all public-facing IP address, open ports, exposed APIs, cloud storage bucket, and domain names if an internet packet can touch is a part of this layer. To the software application attack surface, we emphasize the actual application code, input validation fields and login forms, and third-party libraries and software dependencies. 3. The physical human attack surface. This spans as physical data centers, employee endpoints, social engineer vectors like phishing and insider threats.
So,
But
okay. But how do we know where the highest risks lie within these layers? We look for the trust boundaries. A trust boundary is a conceptual line where the level of trust changes. When the data travels from an untrusted zone like the public internet into a trusted zone, like an internal corporate database, or it can crosses a trust boundary. Every single intersections point where a trust boundary is crossed is a high risk choke point. If you do not explicitly validate and sanitize data at these specific lines, your entire network perimeter collapses. So I will now hand it over to Amores to explain how we analyze these boundaries using data flow diagram.
Um, so thank thank you, Mr. Layupan. To effectively defend these boundaries, security engineers rely on data flow diagrams. A DFD or data flow diagrams does not just show network cables. It traces how information moves through a system and highlights exactly where trust levels shift. When building or auditing DFD for a threat model, we use a specific set of standardized shapes to identify vulnerabilities. First, external entities or rectangles. These represent actors outside our direct control, such as a customer using a mobile app or a third party vendor API. They are inherently untrusted. And second, processes or circles or rounded rectangles. These represent running code blocks or microservices that manipulate data like a payment processing service or a login validator. And third, the data stores or parallel lines. These represent places where data is at rest, such as SQL databases, cache system, or cloud storage logs. And the last one, data flows or arrows. These show the path data takes as it travels between entities, processes, and data stores. So the magic happens when we draw a dotted line across these elements. That line represents the trusty boundary. For instance, when a user sends an HTTP request across the web to our web server, that arrow punctures a major trust boundary. Our score rule, our core rule as security professionals is simple. Never trust data crossing a boundary without strict cryptographic verification and input sanitization. If a process on the trusted side blindly executes an SQL command sent from the untrusted side, you have opened the door to complete system compromise. Next, Wariza will introduce how we take these concepts and apply them to historical trends using case-based vulnerability analysis.
Okay, so thank you, Amores. So next is the methodology of case-based vulnerability analysis. Up to this point, we've discussed how to map our systems theoretically, but theory must be hardened by history. This brings us to case-based vulnerability analysis. Case-based analysis is an empirical methodology where security teams study documented real-world breaches, software exploits, and historical post-mortems to identify structural patterns of failure within their own architectures. Instead of waiting to be hacked, we look at how others were hacked, reverse engineer their mistakes, and apply those lessons proactively. As detailed in the process flowchart on our slide, a rigorous case-based analysis follows a structured four-stage loop. The number one is the case selection and deconstruction. It means we analyze known historical security incident such as the Equifax breach or the logs A4J vulnerability, and they seek the precise root cause. The next one is the attack path extraction. We reconstruct the threat actors' exact footprints. What trust boundary did they cross? What components of the attack surface did they exploit? The third is the internal comparative assessment. We look inward, like we ask, do we run similar legacy libraries? Is our input validation logic structured the same way as the victim companies? We ask that questions. And the fourth one is the defensive immunization. Like we engineer specific or targeted patches or architectural changes to ensure that exact exploit method can never succeed against our infrastructure. So by studying history, we convert someone else's catastrophic failure into our organization defensive shield. I will now hand the floor to Largo to kick off our team's deep dive case study. So Largo,
Thank you, Arisa. So, real world case analysis. The smart home cloud princess. Let's bring a lesson to life with an expensive, highly technical case study. Our team has been brought in to perform a case-based vulnerability analysis on highly realistic system layout. Smart home could cloud an ecosystem where thousands of physical smart locks and home cameras talk to central cloud server via an API gateway. Let's look. Historical reward vulnerability that matches this exactly layout to famous log force shield and CBI 2021 and 44228 vulnerability in that case. Systems running on standard Java logging library would automatically execute malicious code if a specific string was printed to the logs. If our smart home cloud platform logs every connection attempt coming from a physical smart lock and attacker on the digital attack surface, can send a malicious user's agent string from their their lock device. When the API gateway passes the string across the trust boundary into our internal database logs, the server attempts to parse is giving the attacker complete remote code execution inside our network. Kasi po.
Okay, let's proceed to part 5, interactive attack surface reduction strategy. The core danger here is that the software attack surface is completely exposed to an identical attack surface. The cloud gateway is accepting rich text strings from unverified hardware out in the wild and passing them straight through our internal trust boundaries without structural isolation. To fix this, our team must execute an attack surface reduction strategy. Next.
First, we shrink the digital attack surface. We implement mutual TLS with hard-coded hardware certificates built directly into the smart locks during manufacturing. This means an anonymous attacker cannot even establish a TCP connection with our API gateway. The gateway will reject any packet that doesn't originate from a verified authentic device.
Next, we enforce strict boundaries on the inside. Even if an authenticated device sends a malicious string, the command broker process must treat that input as pure, passive data, never executable code. We apply strict regex white listing to ensure that fields like device ID only accept alphanumeric characters, completely neutralizing code injection strings.
So finally, we look at network segmentation. If the internal logging server is ever compromised, it must sit within an isolated virtual private cloud. In short, the VPC, with zero outward internet access. This blocks the server from the initiating outbound connection to download malicious payloads, breaking the attacker's exploit loop entirely.
As this case study demonstrates, combining attack surface mapping with historical case analysis transforms security from a guessing game into an exact engineering science. Next.
Um, to summarize our complete lesson today, defense begins by knowing your boundaries, by mapping your attack surface, showing explicit trust. Mm, Boundaries using data flow diagrams, and continuously learning from the industry historical missteps through case based vulnerability analysis. You can build architecture that are secure by design. On behalf of Amores, Variza, Largo, Pasipong, and myself, thank you all. I thank you all so much for your focus on participating throughout both our lesson today.
Thank
If you
you.
have a question, just comment down below.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So
During
And let's begin our